I used to think love was a quiet, safe place. I thought it was somewhere to hide from the world. Then I understood the truth. I was not hiding with someone, I was being hidden by them. My name is Patricia. This is the story of how I lost myself in darkness and how I found my way back to the light. My story starts in Brighton Bay. It is a peaceful town by the sea. It sits not far from the busy energy of New York City. It is a place of deep stillness. The streets are calm. The cafes are small and cozy. The waves of the Atlantic sing their endless song. I was 29 years old. I worked as a receptionist at a small hotel near the shore. My life was simple. Some might even say boring, but I found beauty in that simplicity. I had a small group of loyal friends. I lived in a modest apartment. My daily routine made me feel safe. I was not looking for romance. After several broken relationships, I had made a decision. Being alone was easier. Being alone was safer. But life has a way of surprising us. It brings someone into your world. It happens at the exact moment you stop searching. That person was Miller. Miller arrived at the hotel on a business trip, but something about him was different. He stood out from our usual guests. He had a tired grace about him. He was calm and polite. He seemed to carry a quiet weight on his shoulders. His eyes were soft and watchful. His smile was gentle. When he spoke, it felt like a secret meant only for me. I helped him check in. His thank you felt strangely personal. It was a small spark of connection, a real moment in an ordinary task. I noticed how he looked at me. It was not a hungry look. It was a look full of kindness, full of curiosity. I had built walls around my heart, yet I found myself smiling back at him. I did it before I even knew I was doing it. The next morning, he came back to the lobby. He wanted advice about the town. He wanted to know the secret places, the hidden gems. I told him where to find the best coffee. I described the quiet beaches where the waves whispered against the rocks. I shared the seafood restaurants where the locals actually ate. He did not just hear me. He listened. He listened with his whole attention. He made me feel important. Most people in my life did not listen like that. Over the next 2 weeks, our connection grew. It grew in the spaces between his work hours. Every evening after his meetings ended, he would find me in the lobby. Our talks stretched late into the night. We walked along the shore together. Our footsteps left marks in the wet sand. Sometimes we sat in peaceful silence. We would sit on an old wooden bench near the lighthouse. We shared pieces of ourselves. We talked about books we loved. We discussed music we enjoyed. We whispered about our secret dreams. He told me about the pressure of his city job. I described my quiet life by the sea. With him, I felt a comfort I had never known before. I felt truly seen. One evening, the stars shone bright above us. A salty breeze blew gently. He turned to me. His face showed pure openness. "Being with you," he said softly, "is the only peace I have ever known." Those words planted themselves deep in my heart. I think that was the moment. That was when I began to fall for him. When his 2 weeks ended, Miller left Brighton Bay, but our connection did not break. We stayed linked through messages and calls. We texted all day. We talked on the phone late into the night. We shared laughter. We told each other intimate stories. Missing him hurt more than I expected. A month later, he returned. This time, he did not stay at the hotel. He rented a small cottage by the harbor. He invited me into his temporary home. We cooked dinner together. Our shadows danced on the kitchen walls. The radio played softly in the background. Everything felt easy. It felt like we had known each other for years. I felt like the luckiest woman alive. But the dream shattered one dark evening. We were sitting on the sofa. Steam rose from our cups of tea. A heavy feeling settled over him. His expression changed. He took a rough breath. "Patricia," he began. His voice was shaking. "There is something you need to know." My heart beat faster. A warning rang inside me. "I am married," he said. His eyes stared at the floor. "And I have 2 children." The blood drained from my body. My hands turned cold as ice. I could not find any words. A sudden gap opened between us. He claimed he never meant to lie to me. He said he did not expect to find this kind of connection. He explained that his marriage was empty now. It was just a shared house without love. He said he stayed only for his children. His voice was low and sad, but I was frozen. My thoughts were a wild storm. I stood up suddenly. I walked out into the night air. The cold bit my skin. The roar of the waves crashed inside my head. Tears were coming. Then he followed me outside. "If you never want to see me again," he whispered, "I will understand." I just nodded. An empty gesture. I walked back to my apartment in a daze. Sleep did not come that night. My mind was a battlefield. Questions attacked me. Why did he lie? Why did he choose me? But mixed with the anger, I remembered his kindness. I remembered feeling safe in his arms. I was drowning in confusion. I wanted to scream at him, yet I also wanted him near me. The next day, a message came. "I am so sorry, but I miss you terribly." I did not answer. For a whole week, I was a ghost. I could not focus on anything. My heart and my brain fought each other. I told myself to walk away, but my feet would not move. Finally, we met on the shore. I told him about my pain. I spoke about the hurt of being kept secret. I described how his silence felt like betrayal. He did not make excuses. He just listened. Then he repeated, "I care about you more than words can say." And against all my better judgment, I stayed. I know how this looks. I know what people would call me, the other woman, the bad choice. But I wanted so badly to believe him. I wanted to think this was just a temporary problem. I believed that one day he would choose me. So our love went into hiding. He visited Brighton Bay once or twice a month. He stayed in that little harbor house. I would sneak away after work to be with him. We ate together. We talked for hours. We watched old movies in the dim light. It felt so real, but it was fragile, like a dream that would have to end. There were no public moments, no holding hands on the boardwalk, no photographs of us together, no plans for the future, just stolen moments in a quiet house. But in those hours, he made me feel special. He remembered every small thing I mentioned. He cooked with me. He made me laugh. He gave me books I had only mentioned once. He made me feel loved. Still, deep inside, I knew the truth. I was a side character in his story. I was his easy escape, the part of his life that asked nothing hard of him. Yet, I did not leave. Why? Maybe I loved who I became when I saw myself in his eyes, or maybe I was just afraid of the silence that would follow if he left. Those stolen nights were my lifeline, even though they were mixed with poison. Slowly, the damage began to show. My easy smile faded away. I became a slave to my phone. I waited constantly for his messages. I gave up my social life. I said no to friends. I wanted to be free whenever he might visit. My world shrank. It only held him now, him and the crushing silence when he was gone. I would stand on the beach alone. I asked myself if this was really love, or was I just deeply lost? I told myself to be patient. I said that one day things would change, but the doubts grew louder. Months blended together. A deep tiredness settled into my soul. Not a body tiredness, an emotional exhaustion. I was always waiting, waiting for a text, waiting for a visit, waiting for a love that was only mine in short, borrowed pieces. Sometimes he stayed for a weekend. We would play house in the harbor cottage. We cooked. We held each other. But the moment he walked out the door, the space turned cold. I looked around. There was no sign of him anywhere. No forgotten clothes, no photos, no proof that he existed in my world. He was living two lives, and in the life that truly mattered, I did not exist. I tried to tell myself that love required patience. I believed his feelings were real. Maybe they were, in their broken way. But he always went back. Back to his wife, back to his children, back to the life where I had no place. One rainy midnight, his car disappeared into the fog. I sat by the window. I watched the rain fall. I asked my reflection a question. What am I doing with my life? I was pouring all my love into something that could never fill me up. I was accepting second place in my own story. I had dreams, dreams of a real partnership that lived in the open, a home, a family, a man who chose me every morning. Instead, I had empty rooms, silent nights. A small voice began to whisper inside me. It said I deserved more, but fear still held me tight, the fear of being alone. I went to see my friend, Ziva. She was the only person who knew my secret. I confessed my tiredness. I told her about my grief. You deserve to be someone's first choice, Patricia, she said firmly. You should be with a man who is proud to love you, someone who walks beside you in bright daylight, not someone who only hides with you in shadows. Her words woke me up. I realized how much of myself I had given away. I had stopped laughing. I had stopped exploring. I had stopped living. My world had become a prison, and I had built it myself. When Miller came next, he brought flowers. He kissed my forehead. He acted like everything was fine. But I was frozen. "What has changed?" he asked. He could feel something was different. "I do not think I can do this anymore," I admitted. He looked shocked. "Why now?" "Because I am a ghost in my own life," I replied. "I live in your shadow. I spend my days waiting for crumbs, your calls, your short visits. But I am always waiting. I need a life that is complete." He sat in heavy silence. Then he whispered, "You know I love you, Patricia." "Then why am I not your choice?" I asked. The words were barely a breath. He looked away. He talked about the complications, his family, his children. "And what am I?" I asked softly. "Just a secret?" He had no answer. That night, the tears came again. Not because he was cruel, but because I finally saw clearly. He was never going to leave. Not for me, not for anyone. After he left, I went silent. No messages, no phone calls. I needed to take back my own mind. I spent my mornings on the beach. The salt air stung my cheeks. I watched the tide pull back from the sand. I began to rebuild the girl I used to be, the one who loved reading, who enjoyed long walks, who found joy in simple coffee with friends. I thought about what real love should look like, not a hidden, painful thing, but a partnership that stands unashamed in the open. Someone who says, "You are mine," without any fear. I did not have that with Miller. I started writing in a journal every night. With every sentence, a small piece of my strength returned. A week later, he showed up at my door without warning. I let him in one last time. "I needed to see you," he said. "You have been so distant." I explained that I had been thinking about the costs of being second, about losing myself. "I love you," I told him. "Maybe part of me always will, but I need a real life. I want someone who can give me their whole heart, not just the leftover pieces." He looked devastated. He said he could not leave his children. I nodded. I finally understood. This was our ending. "I hope you find peace," I said. He held me one last time. He whispered an apology. Then he walked out of my life forever. The grief that came next felt different. It was a clean pain, like a healing wound finally closing. The next morning, I stood by the ocean. I felt balanced for the first time in months. The sky was clear, the wind was soft. For the first time in so long, I was not checking my phone. I was just there, present in my own body, and that was enough. As months passed, the weight began to lift. I spent weekends laughing with Ziva over coffee. I enjoyed the honesty of a friendship that needed no lies. I returned to things I loved. I signed up for a creative writing class at the community center. It was something private, a way to understand my journey through words. One evening, after class, I walked into a small bookstore. A man stood nearby, looking at travel books. He looked up and smiled warmly. I felt a spark of recognition. "You are in the writing class, right?" he asked. I said yes. He introduced himself as Tyreen. We talked about the class. We mentioned the cold weather. It was a simple conversation, but his voice had an honest, calming quality. Tyreen became a steady presence in my life. We started meeting after our classes. We shared coffee. We walked along the harbor. He was a true listener. His eyes never left mine when I spoke. There was no pressure, just patience. One evening, the sky turned orange over the waves. I decided to be honest with him. I told him about the married man. I told him about the waiting, the pain of being a secret. "I never want to settle for that kind of love again," I said. Tyreen was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out to me. "Thank you for sharing that with me," he said. "I think you are very brave. You deserve a love that is whole." That night, warmth spread through my chest. It was not the fire of obsession. It was the steady glow of being understood. I began to laugh again. The old ache underneath was gone. Taryn entered my life like a slow sunrise after a long, dark night. He did not try to fix me. He just stood beside me. He showed me that real love is a safe haven, not a hiding place. One evening, we watched children playing in a park. The topic of the future came up. "Do you want a family someday?" I asked. "One day," he replied. His eyes were steady on mine. "With the right person." I understood something then. Love should not be constant pain. It should not be a hidden weight. It should feel like coming home. I did not have that with Miller, but maybe now I could. Looking back, I have no regrets about my past. That pain shaped who I am today. It made me stronger. I learned that love without respect is empty. Waiting for someone who will not choose you kills your spirit slowly. No one else can give you peace. You have to grow it inside your own heart. And now, I have that peace. I have hope. I have a love that does not hide in shadows. It walks proudly beside me in the light. If you asked me today whether the journey was worth it, I would say yes. Because through the wreckage, I found myself. And in finding myself, I opened the door to the love I truly deserve. Thanks for listening to my story. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me where you're listening from.